Call meeting of the General Council, April 26, 2025, by petition of at least 15 council representatives. And I did just put the code back up on the screen so that when petitions are done, there's usually a format where you quote the code that supports the purpose of that petition and the reasoning that was of serious concern to the council. So going forward, just want to remind you of that as legislators of the governing body of the Seminole Nation. So special call meeting April 26, 2025, 10 o'clock here at the Miccosukee Mission. I call this meeting to order. Ask the secretary to call the roll.
Leetta Sampson. Anthony Conley. John Narkemy. Rena Tiger. Here. Anastasia Pittman. Terry Edwards. Ida Gonzalez. Here. Nancy Fixico. Leon Petit.
Here.
David Narkemy.
Here.
Joseph Billy.
Here.
Dolores Harjo. Karen Fulbright. Here. Ann Borba. Here. Stephanie Lambert. Here. Sina Yesleth. Here. Lottie Cootie. Here. Marilyn Moore. Here. Henson Lena.
Here.
Richmond Larney.
Here.
Wayne Shaw.
Here.
Tiffany Thunder.
Here.
Catherine McCoy. Charlie Hill.
Here.
Tommy Chupko.
Here.
Danita Harjo. Willis Dethridge.
Here.
Desiree Emerton.
Here.
I have 19 present and 9 absent.
With a count of 19 present and 9 absent, I declare that we have quorum, and we are now in session for this special call meeting of April 26, 2025. Representative Narkemy Chiyahaban, if you would lead us in prayer at this time. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we would like to offer our thanks. We would like to offer our requests for wisdom, for grace, for guidance, your blessings for all of us here today, all of us that we know, all of us, all that we love, all that we don't know that need your blessings. We ask that you guide us in all things that we do today, every day. We ask that you give us a tomorrow to do things a little better than we did today. We want to thank you for all the yesterdays we've had. And thank you for all the futures you'll grant us. We ask that you forgive our trespasses. We ask that you help us to make the decisions that we need to that will best guide our nation and ourselves. All these things we ask in your name, in the name of your Son. Amen.
Amen and amen. Okay, we have reading of minutes at the last meeting. Did you get minutes on that? Okay, minutes were not completed by the time the special call meeting had to be called. So we don't have any reading of the minutes of the last meeting. Unfinished business, always when we have something that's tabled, it comes back at the next council meeting, and that's why this particular resolution, TR 2025-18, we have a representative from the Finance Committee here this morning that sits on the council. Do you choose to bring that off the table, or you want to keep it on the table?
I believe that Mr. Representative Petit is the one that put it on the table. As far as the Finance Committee is concerned, we approved it, and I would just take it off the table and ask for it to be voted on.
Okay, Representative Shaw?
What I'm going to ask is, are we legal? Do we have to have it in day so we don't have it come back on us that we didn't wait with 10-day notice?
I think the 10-day notice was met, you know, I think it went out on the 16th and today's the 26th.
I just want to make sure everything's
Yeah.
put forward.
Yeah. There's always been a question of when you get a petition, whether it's supposed to be called within that 10 days or whether the meeting, you know, takes place within that 10 days, makes it a kind of a difficult scenario when it's placed like that. So what we did is we just called it within that 10 days where I received the notice. I think the original petition was handed at the special call meeting of the 15th. And then, as many of you recall, I was not here due to illness, but the next day when I went into work, then it was handed to me. So we called it as soon as we possibly could after that day, receiving the petition. Okay, Representative Petit, you wanna leave it on the table or you wanna bring it off? I think she said you made the original motion to table.
Chair, I'd ask that we table this again until we can have I guess we need the Terrell board and the HR to give us some instructions on how this may affect the GS systems. And then, I think the council needs to get a report from that Terrell board. Surely they've done some kind of evaluation or something that they can make a recommendation regarding how this should be, you know,
Okay.
considered by the bands.
All right,
Again, I ask that this continue to be tabled.
Okay, and with all due respect to Representative of the Eufaula Band, the one that tabled it said they want to keep it on the table. Is that, and I do respect your comment on that earlier. So reports of committees, we have none at this time. New business to discuss ARPA projects and finance of the Seminole Nation. So at this time, that's where we're at. We do have the treasurer of the Seminole Nation here, Mr. Bill Arney. Representative Narcomy.
I was going to ask if it was possible to add other business, because such a band has some issues we want to address regarding the ARPA funds, but it has to be done under other business.
Where the germane of this meeting is to discuss ARPA projects, so if it, you know, that's a pretty broad topic that's already on the agenda. I don't,
We're going to, the concession band wants to address the interest income from the ARPA funds. We want to come up with a possible resolution for that.
yeah, I think that encompasses the finance of the nation as well. So it can actually be discussed under the existing request for the special call meeting. So does council agree with that? Chairman views it as that. Things when you're talking about discuss ARPA projects and finance of the Seminole Nation, that would encompass anything that's underneath the treasurer of the Seminole Nation. So are there anybody that opposes to that? It does, it encompasses, it's germane. Okay, so Treasurer Larney, if you would come and Assistant Chief Palmer, if you speak today as well, make sure you get into the microphone so that everyone can hear properly here, and also those that are listening on YouTube. Bill, do you want a stool? You want this stool? I think on some of the projects, you know, you just be ready. Bill, you want this stool? I can give it up. Okay. Assistant Chief, would you lower the mic for Treasurer? Okay, we're here as the new business says, discuss ARPA projects and finances of the Seminole Nation. So the treasurer has the floor for any questions that you may have as the general counsel. Also, Assistant Chief, who has been instrumental in the area of the ARPA projects as well, is standing beside him. Representative Larney.
Good morning, Bill. Good morning, everybody. Just received your report today, this morning, this one here. This is updated?
Pardon?
Is this report that you just handed out to us, is it updated?
I still didn't hear.
This report that you handed out, is this updated?
Yes.
Okay. I was questioning, okay, I'm gonna start off with the water infrastructure. I'm very concerned about it. Who's the one in charge of all that, to know what's going on with that? What's the process of it? You know, we have enough money did your math wrong. We have appropriated $2,557,192.65. And right now, I have an Encompass report budget right here that total, nothing came out of it. On the new report, nothing came out of it. $97,242.63 has been out of expenses. Is that the design phase? Is that the design of it, or is that breaking ground?
I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, all of these, these are, to be honest with you, all these projects are under contract. Okay?
Yes, I'm aware of it.
What you're getting on the encumbrance report is the expenses that are associated with that. Now, as far as how the progress is going, you'd have to add, well, Mr. Brown, would you instead? Okay. But all I'm getting at is that just the expenditures that are on that project.
Okay, because I have two papers right here. Now this new one here, it says nothing came out of it.
Okay, so what has happened is when they made the adjustment, see, I talked with our accountant.
Treasurer, you're going to have to get into the mic because it's difficult to hear you.
Okay, I talked with our accountant, and he said that, he's telling me, since everything is under contract,
Who's our accountant?
that would be, well, our outside accountant,
Who's our
which is
outside accountant?
Kyle Dover.
Okay.
CPA.
So, but anyway, he was saying all these, he said, in essence, these reports should be zeroed out because they're already under contract, and that all these projects will be finished by the 26th of, ending year 26. So, but he said that what I'm giving you is what has been expended out of that, I guess, out of the project, so.
Treasurer, I think what Representative Larney's point is he has two different sheets of paper,
Right.
and it has to do with MIPS.
Okay, now
The software.
that adjustment was made through the accountant, I mean, as far as that goes.
Okay, I guess this will be a question for Assistant Chief here. What phase are we in on this? Because I know we've been stuck in limbo for a while on the design of all these projects, and where we at, this money's going to carry us out to complete these projects, because we do have projects that are stuck in not being done. And for example, the Barking Waters Head Start, that money there is completely exhausted. How are we going to have any more funding to complete that Head Start? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you're asking two questions, correct?
Yeah, first, let's do the water infrastructure. I'm gonna get off of that. It's kind of along with it. I want to make sure that we have enough money to get this water infrastructure done for the people. Because we worked hard on this,
Sure.
and I want to really know if we're really going to get that water, or is this going to be swept under the rug? Because we only had $2,557,192.65. So did we save any money from anything to make sure that we can make up? Because we did have a verbal for $3.2 million to finish that.
So the original request that was denied by council was 10 million. And that was for water and wastewater as an entire scope, which is in line with what the final rule requests, so that thresholds can't be navigated around. So even if you add all of the wastewater appropriations with the water appropriation, we didn't have enough to do everything that needed to be done in the first place. So we were already looking at what was going to be an optional upgrade to all the deferred maintenance and replacement of the old lines. So now we're having to go back and prioritize based on the funds. The design is complete. There are certain aspects of that that have been completed. Right now, some of the cost savings, because of the way the final rule looks at everything, it's the scope, right? It's all water and wastewater. So even though we have several resolutions, how that's reported on the U.S. Treasury through the SLFRF CARES Act guidelines, it's one project. We can't separate it out to lower that threshold. It's all one project. So while we have our reports that are broken down into one thing, how they are on the other side is different. That being said, since it all falls within the council's wishes, which was to improve the water infrastructure, and that's clean water and wastewater, we looked at where we could save costs and still deliver the product. One area that we were able to do that with is with the lagoons. The current water usage, even if we were to grow it to a higher capacity, if those water cells, those lagoon cells, are functioning at a 90% rate, we don't need to invest as much. And so right now, there's microbes that are being installed. We're basically cleaning and renewing those wells or the cells. That's going to save us quite a bit of funds. We're going to go back with the clay base as opposed to a liner. That's also in line with the federal regs. That alone is going to save us a couple $100,000 for each one of those. So we're going to be able to reroute that into the freshwater side, because it's all one project. It's water and wastewater, federal guidelines. It's what the council chose and what they wanted. So that 2.5 million, we're not gonna have to use all of the 2.5 that was originally for wastewater. So that's one of those cost-saving things that we're having to do to try to make up the difference from the original cost estimate of 10 million. Some of the other areas are how we were connecting the Veterans Center. That was a $200,000 project. We're not going to have to spend $200,000 on that alone. So once it's all said and done, we're going to be able to upgrade it to a point that it's better, the longevity of it, but to address the aged water tower, we're not going to be able to do that. To address installing meters at every facility, we're not going to be able to do that.
That's why I was brought to it earlier. That way, we worked hard to make sure that we're in this position right now. Because that's why, before all this happened, that's what our main thing, we were gonna get it right. Even the chair said that, we'll take it out of LATCF funding to get this right. I mean, so we're basically not gonna get really no upgrade, just the pipe.
So the upgrades are gonna be, being able to exercise our water rights and not be tied to the Bowlegs Lima and purchasing water. So we will have our own water wells, our own control system. So we will be self-sufficient with water. The main lines, as far as the sewer, we were able to do some cleaning and some repairs where we needed to. As far as replacing every water line, it's going to basically be as an as-needed basis, depending on the age and the condition and any issues. Some of those aren't as aged as others, so it's not going to be a complete overhaul, but as far as being self-sufficient, not having to purchase water, having our own wells, we already have one. We look like we only need...
That's residential well, right? That's supposed to run the splash pad and the pool, right?
It depends on how you look at it. Right now, with the well not even powered, if the splash pad was turned on, it would operate, simply because it has collected enough water. When you look at those as a residential cost saving, we can spend the extra 20 to 40,000 on a commercial well, but we don't necessarily have commercial use with the flow rates that we have. It's not like we're having to fill up 10,000 gallons every day. We're having to use maybe 5,000 a day. And so whenever you look at that in the context of having a clear well, so we'll have water wells that pump into a clear well. The clear well then pumps into the tower, which is essentially the system that we have now. Because the flow rate coming from Boleg's Lima is less than 2 gallons a minute. That's not even your kitchen faucet, and we're able to operate off of 2 gallons a minute for replenishment. What we're looking at with those 3 wells is approximately 60 gallons a minute with a lower associated maintenance cost. So while they're classified as residential, there's a process behind that. I would much rather have 3 residential wells than 1 or 2 commercial wells, that if one of those goes down, we have a higher cost and a slower return time as far as being able to get those back up and running longevity-wise. And longevity-wise, we're looking 10 to 20 years down the road, not in the next 5 or 10 years.
Also, too, I'm going to skip back to Parking Water's Head Start. There's $5 left. $989,000. Was that for the design phase of designing a $300,000 building? Or is that just from the demo alone?
So that total budget was for acquisition, design, and demo. And then there was some remediation issues that were being corrected, but there is funds there to actually complete that.
Coming from Head Start? Funds? Do they have like 800,000 or something to put in?
So it's collective. So there's Head Start funds, there's child care funds.
Correction,
and
well, yes, go right ahead. I thought you was gonna leave child care out.
Yeah, there's Head Start, child care, and then there's block grant money that we're able to actually utilize.
So it's not going to be open in August, is it?
This August?
Yeah,
Probably not.
that was the goal, right?
Possibly.
Possibly, but again, in line with the final rule and what the expectations are, all of these have to be completed by December of 2026.
Because when we started these projects off, we hired a design management team and a construction management team, right? The design team, one design team didn't make it, so it was terminated.
Correct.
So we paid them over $170,000 for services that we never received, really, much. And so when we started these projects off, we started $170,000 in the hole. Did we make that up?
I don't think it was that particular amount. And if I remember right, weren't you on that pick that design team? On that?
Panel, probably was out voting, was on the panel.
I think you was on that pick that design team, and a decision had to be made.
This is not my decision. It was
a panel.
Yeah, but just don't throw just
So what we had to do at that time is when that design team gave us afterwards, when they understood when you guys were interviewing them, what the timeframes of these projects would be expected, and when they said that they could not, after they got the contract, they could not meet those anywhere close to that, and they wouldn't even get started and have us plans way out, and it was way beyond what we could facilitate with the timeframes that's within the ARPA expenditures. So that's the reason that was changed at that time.
Were you in those meetings?
Was I in?
Yeah, were you in the majority of those meetings?
Which meetings?
With the design team and the construction management team, or was it assistant chief?
I was in the meetings when they had the kind of like the big gatherings, like we're at the Reynolds Center.
The signing and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yes.
But not Not the actual meetings where the planning phase was at and everything, correct?
No, I don't believe I was in those meetings.
Thank you.
But definitely when that was come to me, that was a decision that had to be made because the contract that was selected was not going to meet the demands of the nation and the timeframes that was facing us. And plus, when I heard them speak at the Reynolds Center, I don't even see how they even was selected. You know?
Well, there was not too many people, he had not too many choices anyways. Not too many people were coming over there knocking down our door to do these projects anyway, so we were very slimmed on.
We were in a time frame, I think, which all tribes found themselves in as far as the availability of contracting, because everybody was trying to, every tribal nation and the state, and everybody was trying to do construction pretty much at the same time. And as we know in the economy, this is the worst time to do construction, you know, because of the prices and the flexibility of the prices, you know, in materials and such. But it is what it is. As far as this is, we're coming out of the, we were in the pandemic, coming out of a pandemic. We have a new president, and there's a lot of changes in the area of even just raw materials.
So even with those bids, you just say the key point, yeah, we are in the high interest rate. Tariffs went up and everything too. Materials went up right now. Just next week will be up 28%. How's that going to affect our projects right here, right now?
The majority, to my understanding, the majority of the projects had a 20% plus or minus that was included in those cost bids. So once we start getting over the
guaranteed maximum price.
right, once we get over that 20%, you know, then we're having to look at alternative methods. But
this particular method, CMGC, obviously you have a guaranteed maximum price. We do know that, you know, if it goes beyond that, then those companies know that they're to get the job done. They've stated to me as late as yesterday, we will get the job done. We'll eat on our side if the costs go beyond. So on the governing side, we're doing everything we can to be able to deliver to the nation those projects as quickly as we possibly can.
Okay, but we also got to maintain them too. So you have an actual plan on how we're going to maintain some of these facilities?
so like with Head Start specifically, because that does...
Which Head Start?
Any of the Head Starts. So Head Start as a whole, child care as a whole, a lot of those are funded federally with grants that are reoccurring. With those, they understand what we're doing in our investments. Our relationship with those DC representatives, several of them are here in Oklahoma. Some of them are about an hour away to drive to and meet and have conversations with. So they understand where we're at and what we're doing. As we put in our grants, those reoccurring requests, it does make up for that. And you do, especially with child care, you do set aside funds that can you know, address that and be used a little more fluidly. But again, as it relates to ARPA, I believe every one of you should have received an email that was had a letter attached from the U.S. Treasury that was dated about a month ago. That letter basically stated that if based on the U.S. Treasury reporting that we have to do on a monthly and then quarterly basis, January of 25 was the last input for that. They audit that stuff almost real time on a monthly basis as far as where we're at, what kind of the appropriations and the spending. So when we received that letter, it was really short and not very sweet, but it basically states that if we did not have everything encumbered per the final rule, that we would receive a secondary letter in a few days, which again, now it's been a month, with a repayment plan. We've not received that letter. So that tells us, based on how we're reporting to the U.S. Treasury, we're in compliance with all of our ARPA projects that have been approved through council and have been reported on the U.S. Treasury site, and with what our CPAs are inputting on a monthly basis on that reporting. So that's good news. That's what we want. We don't want those secondary letters that come in. The last Dear Tribal Leader letter that we received used the terms restitution and prosecution. So if we are found as a governing body that we did not use this money correctly, not only are they going to hit us with a repayment plan with interest from the date we received it, but prosecution. It wasn't an and or. So when I stand here and tell you that we are in compliance, I'm not going to go to jail for this tribe. I'll do a lot of things for our people, but that's not one of them, right? And so I can stand here and tell you that we are 100% in compliance based on what we're getting from the feedback of the U.S. Treasury, based on our interpretation of the final rule. That is auditable out to 2032 and then 2034. So we're on the hook for all of this. And that dates back to CARES. That dates back to PPP. I can stand here and say for ARPA, we're in compliance. I can't say that for anything else prior to this administration, short of the $212,000 investment of the CARES funds that was invested in the gym, because that was appropriated through this council. Other than that,
See, if we had a report and came back, because we have a chief of staff, a new chief of staff, we wouldn't be here today if you weren't transparent with us, the executive here. We wouldn't be sitting here today asking these questions. It should have been a report kind of like this. This is what you have in the red right now. Us breaking ground and all kinds, what we were up against, how much money's been spent, how much it cost us in the design phase. There's nobody to come to the council. We passed these resolutions for you, for the people, and we have no response back. When you're told, don't be talking ARPA projects with certain people, that's crazy. Because not being a council, not just a council rep, I'm also a tribal member of this tribe. And it'd be nice to see, because I'm very interested in what's going on here and how to maintain it. And I know that field very well. Very well. And to see us grow here, where are we going to have the funds to maintain a lot what we have going on right now? And that's a big main thing. We'd be bragging about maybe we have an indoor swimming pool. Who's going to maintain it? Who's going to do the chemicals? Who's going to do is that well going to really run that indoor swimming pool? Or are we going to have a lifeguard on duty while elders are exercising for wellness, or what is, the plans are planned poorly. And it needs to be transparent to the council here, because we are the people, we represent the nation. And when we get put off, that means the nation gets put off. And I've been trying to ask these questions for a long time. I've just been swept under the rug. And I'm not concerned. I really want to see all this breaking, the groundbreaking and everything succeed. But just like, for example, the Conawa Head Start. What are we going to do about that? What's going on with that? And how are we going to, what's the main plan to get that back up and running now? Because we're stuck in limbo in Conawa. It's not done. I mean, are we going after a contractor's bonding? What are we doing? What's the plan? You guys are executive. What's the plan to get that on top for our children?
We already have those things.
Can you explain a little bit to us, just a little bit?
Sure, I can explain it to you.
Sure.
Obviously, in the area of construction work, sometimes you run against things that maybe the construction does not deliver, so therefore those things that come from that have to be addressed, and we are addressing that both legally, but we also have talked to our funding sources at the federal level, and we just received word that we're fixing to get the word for our bonding, our insurance and bonding, and we'll be able to begin work and possibly have that site, possibly have it open for the fall. So.
And then we're still working on the water tower.
The water tower's been painted on the inside, sanitized. They're gonna be painting on the outside of the water tower very soon. With all the rain and everything, it has caused some delays in some of that type of work. But within the next 2 or 3 weeks, the designers, once they get the outside of the water tower painted, then they'll come in and put the graphics on. There'll be a different team that comes to do that. But definitely at the administrative level, we have that under control. Sometimes, you know, these types of things that do come up and face in construction, you know, you have the ability to do change orders and things of that nature. When it's not been completed by the one that's in contract, then you go through the processes of what you have to do as a corporation, as a business, or as a tribal nation. And that's what we're doing, and we're handling it. And that project will be finished. And I'm glad that it's going to be finished. You know why? Because when I came into office, everything was being sent back to the federal government, millions and millions of dollars. And that was not acceptable to Assistant Chief and myself. There was no communication with the federal agencies during that period of time. The federal government was going, the ones who provided our light horse vehicles were going to come and they were going to compensate that vehicles. We had to stop that from happening. So we're not whiners. I remember in the last administration, all we could hear is, oh, I've been faced with $296,000. We were faced with tens of millions of dollars, and we have settled it, and we're going to be all right. And we're at the bridge of where no one has ever been before. We're on the summit of possibly having total clean audits for continual years, federal reports, so that the next step, anyone that's in government knows this, self-governance. We might get there. I hope we get there. Many administrations have tried, they haven't got us there. Representative Deathridge.
Miko, before you start your dissertation, I thought I seen her AG raise her hand, and I don't know whether she's stretching or what, but it looked as if she wanted to answer that question that the council representative asked. So,
from a legal point of view, I couldn't see her.
Sorry.
Is there anything further for me, or?
Yes, we are on the Common Head Start. We are pursuing legal actions and going after the bonding. That's all I wanted to say. Yes, our office is working on that.
How much was paid out to that contractor? Was it the full budget amount of money, or was it do you know?
I don't know exactly, but no, it wasn't the full budget, no.
Well, we have people that's totally over that project. Lee Stokes looks over it, Ricky Postoke looks over it. That is a project of the child care. We do know that they just didn't finish what they should have done. And there's still money there, you know, that will help with the bonding, with what funds is there to be able to complete it with the bonding. We have worked with we have worked with the federal agencies. We have already been approved for a brand new child care there in the Wewoka area as well. And this is what the funding agencies shared with us. They said, if you can get that guarantee that that bonding's coming, you can actually utilize the funds from the Wewoka, and then just what they call replenish it to get this child care finished. The federal agencies, they want to see you succeed. They really do. They don't want to bamboozle you. But I tell you what, when we first came into office, we felt like, we were in non-compliance. We was fixing to lose Light Horse, Head Start, and several other programs was in jeopardy as well. And those are things, and some of you know, there was a $2 million loan that was taken without this body's known. There was $20 million spent without this body's resolution to spend that. So, you know, we faced a lot of pressure coming into this administration, and to find ourselves almost on the brink of getting close to being self-governance, and also the federal reviews from our federal agencies and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. at the highest levels that it's ever been. We're talking about, and this is one thing we need to talk about as a governing body. Everybody complains about our lands over there in the Creek Nation that's in trust. The Bureau at this point is ready to talk with us about status, what they call an exchange, or what we used to call transfers. Taking the status of one piece of property, placing it on another piece of property within our reservation. So those talks are taking place, and the reason they're doing it, because of our federal performance.
Well, Bill, I know Bill's probably hurting up there, so, Bill, straight question to you. How much, let's get off the subject, how much opiate money have we received? Total, I mean, how much do we receive? Come on, Bill, we should know this already. You know this was coming. I'm just being honest with you. Come on. I just want to find a solution. I want to see what's going on, because that way to make sure that we are using that money to help, because we do have an opiate crisis in this country.
I will get that answer for you tonight. And I'll.
Say it again.
I will get that answer to you Monday. As far as the dollar amounts that was received, they're received, I think, the beginning of, really it's not September.
Or maybe a question for the chair. Chair, how much do we receive?
I'm going to say we're really close at, and without the figures right before me, I'm going to say about $2.1 to $2.2 million. And the council approved the budget for the opioid program, the COPE program, in the last comprehensive budget. I'm going to say it's going to be around that figure without having it before me. Somewhere around there, I think, Treasurer, maybe more. I think we just did a report to the auditors about what was received in '24.
January 31st you did that, right?
I'm sorry?
January 31st of this year, you sent a report into them, right? To the auditors.
I'm sorry?
January 31st of this year, did you had to report on this money, right?
Oh, no, that don't go to the auditors. That's incorrect. That goes with the settlement administrators.
And that report was submitted?
That report was submitted, yes.
Okay.
Definitely submitted, and I realize, I'm not even going to get into that, but it's very disappointing sometimes. It's very disappointing. Representative Yetzler.
I would just like to say that I agree with Representative Larney. We've been asking questions on these. If we had been given all these reports and given all these numbers, we wouldn't be sitting here today. One thing I wanted to elaborate on is Assistant Chief Palmer saying that we look 20 years into the future, but a lot of these buildings and a lot of these projects were just lipstick and rouge. I mean, take, for instance, OAP. And it's got leaks, water leaks. It leaks in there. It smells like mold. We're back in the same situation we were where they were at in the old building. But if you remember correctly, former Director Martha Wynn stood up here on December 2nd, 2023 and said when she talked to the contractor, it was specifically said in that contracting agreement, don't touch the ceiling or foundation. It was within the wall. So we have several buildings out here who didn't get roofs. The last building project, possibly didn't put on food is worried. They haven't had a new roof in 20-something years. I think there was reports of this place kind of leaking. So where did we actually look 20 years into the future? We obviously didn't. I'm not done. And we also didn't look into things. Yes, we built all these things with COVID money. Money we got in a world pandemic that killed hundreds of our people. That's how we got here, but we didn't utilize it right. And we haven't done anything, like he said, to keep it going. What have we done to keep it going? This money was given to us, basically blood money. We can't rely on the government. Where are we sitting? The man in the Capitol doesn't like us. The man in the White House doesn't like us. He's changing things every day, every month, future budgets. And we're saying, well, the government wants to work with us. We're having to fight for that. And we haven't done anything in this term to get us there for 20 years. We haven't even completed these projects. We shouldn't be sitting here today asking these questions. And yes, I was a part of that last administration as well as you. But from you, we heard I was locked out of my office, but they didn't take your voice. We should have known these things. We should have been shared with these things. And yeah, there's a lot of us in here to blame. There is a lot of us. But that was the thing that we were told. We were going to be transparent this time around. And a lot of things haven't been transparent. These things might be followed by the government because we're going to be audited by the government. But what things have we voted out here and said no on, but you took it back in there and said, well, them on council, as long as it's up to 1%, we can make these budget mods and move this money around, and you've done it, or you've signed off on things.
Well, you know, that's a mouthful of words there. I don't know how long you've been on the council, but everybody knows, even if you'll be truthful with yourself, how we have conducted ourselves over a course of the last, probably since the 1960s. There's been great opportunities for the tribe, but a lot of times it gets stopped right here because of whatever the reasons are. I've witnessed a lot of it over the years, but on the issue of this roof that now houses this council house, there was insurance claims that was received on this roof. There was insurance claims that was received on the old council house. We did not have them.
What about OAP?
We did not have them when we came into office, but yet these things still were needed of repair. And see, these are the things that, people have protected, certain ones with their life, so to speak. And the thing of it is, and I haven't come out and said, hey, look. I'm not that kind of a person. Oh, look here, what they did wrong. Blah, 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 blah. I could have done the same thing that other administrations have done to other administrations that were before them. I chose not to. Representative Letteridge.
If I may answer a couple of her questions, please.
Go right ahead, Chief.
So, in regards to the OAP roof, that is something that we currently have an opportunity right now, if this council allows, under other business, to allow Jalen to present. We have a pathways grant that will cover some of those repairs, and some of those things that we didn't get to do, like have a generator. Those are things that if we can get that approved, we can address those. So we have to look at what pathways present itself. We as a nation, we have always been, let's find a grant and build a program. Let's take these appropriations and build a facility. We've never taken it from a nation-building perspective, and that's not coming from any chief. That's coming from collectively leadership. When I say leadership, I'm talking about council, I'm talking about the executive office, I'm talking about band chiefs. So we have to, and I'm glad you brought it up, change our perspective of how we approach tribal government as it relates to tribal business. We have to build projects based on funding and us being able to maintain those. So with us, like with tribal youth, I know that in the 1960s, we received tribal youth and they wanted to put it out at Cully America because there was a school. We know that our representative here ran tribal youth until that grant ran out, and now it goes away, right? We don't ever look at how to continue these things that we are awarded. And so with OAP, we're looking at ways through those grants, through other funding, in order to address these things and respond, right? It's not something that we had known these issues were present prior to. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do.
The resolution did state that we would provide a safe and sanitary place for OAP. That's what the funds were for as well. We shouldn't have to utilize a grant when we had money to already do that, but we restricted the last person from saying, let's get these fixed, we need these things fixed. And I know what the Pathways grant is. I actually have that. that should go into the people where it's supposed to serve the people. It shouldn't have to go into an existing building where we already had money that we should have made those repairs for.
Right, and that's where, again, where leadership, when we get dangerous with verbals, when we are trying to address these things, council has the ultimate say. Council can be the worst critic as a whole, but if you are going to if you're going to complain and criticize without an action plan, it's just a complaint, right? Council has the authority to determine where all of this money went, and it was all approved. And so to come back and say, well, we're going to point at 1, 2, 3 people, it is council as a whole, right? And that's where a lot of the weight needs to be put to. And it's not just asking for answers, it's finding the...
But you didn't present anything to us. How long have you been asking?
I didn't know the roof was leaking until it leaked, right? We don't know things are going to flood until they flood. That's what happens when we try to, again, deferred maintenance and lack of planning. And from this point forward, we are looking at that for longevity. We're not putting commercial wells in because I know that the cost of those, sitting on a water board for over a decade, how much that costs. I know that every rural water district now in this county operates on quote-unquote residential equipment. And that's coming from the ORWB, that's coming from my time on a water board as a chair for over a decade of understanding these directions that we need to go.
And I think, what's that, Representative Dethridge had his hand up, I think, first, and then I see Representative Petit, Representative Shaw, and then Representative Cooney. Representative Dethridge.
I think I heard you say something, sound like you're almost talking out both sides of your mouth, not trying to criticize or anything like that, but you were saying, the previous administration, they left us, they brought in some money on this insurance stuff. Where was it at? Where did they spend it? You know, all of that kind of stuff. So you're pointing fingers at the previous administration. We're pointing fingers at this administration because we as a whole are clueless about 97% of the darn time. We ask and we've asked and we've asked for more communication coming from your office. And we do not get it. And so that's that frustration that everyone on this side of the table there, we're frustrated with the lack of communication. So I'm going to say this. I'm not running for re-election. I don't know whether you are or whether the assistant chief is, but I pray that the next council that comes and sits in this room right here, the administration is better than yours at letting us know what's happening, because the assistant Nico said it a little bit ago. Hey, y'all approved everything that we've done, and a lot of the stuff that we've approved was vaguely told what the process was going to be. We need to know what's really coming down the pipe so we can make plans for it. I told a representative this week about this meeting here. I said, if it's to be just a pointing of fingers and you did this or you didn't do that or this or that, I'm a solution person. That's what I did for 30 years where I worked. If there was a problem, they'd call me, and if it was a customer situation, the customer said, hey, we need to figure out what's happening. They called me, my office, I went and checked. I figured it out. I didn't look for reasons, why it was a failure or point fingers at anybody. I said, here is what you can do. And that's what we need from this administration, a new administration. That's what this council is going to need. So please.
What it was, Representative Dethridge, this roof was specifically mentioned in dialogue. So that became germane at that time to the conversation of what was being said on this floor. So that's why I shared that with you, because we did have to take and prepare a roof where insurance money should have covered it, previously. And that was the only reason. I don't go chasing rabbits. let's see, Representative Petit, and then Shaw, and then Representative Cootie.
Mr. Chair, review Title 16, Rule 3.8, debate limitations. Do we need to suspend that code right now? Since we're going to be talking about all this stuff over and over, or can we just continue speaking as we speak?
There's no resolution, so.
What is that again?
Well, there's limitations on how long you talk about things.
Right, there's no resolution, so it's.
Well, we're talking about resolutions that are already existing, and that's my concern is how much time we spend on each one.
Well, you know, we've been.
The number of names may have a question regarding each resolution, they may exceed that 15 minutes. And I didn't know if we could that right now.
Well, actually, under the rules of order, it would go to the limit time that a council representative has to speak. They can not speak, they can speak twice on an item when you have something, you know, to be voted on, obviously. But that time begins to be limited after the second time, and then, and it's done that way, I believe, in code to allow everybody to be able to partake in the process of government. We've been pretty lenient on council, you know. I mean, we could have an hourglass up here or a timer and really say, whoop, your time's up. I mean, they do it at Congress all the time. I see it done quite a bit, and we try to be a little bit more courteous, show more courtesy to you distinguished council representatives.
And okay, it's been mentioned, the word transparency seems to come to mind because it seems like a lot of people just want to know where we stand on things. The statutes have always kind of wondered about, and we requested back in January 24th, because we were told December 7th that all the funds have been obligated. All we had asked for was a report from the Treasurer's Office to show the remaining balances and how much has been obligated and to who, so that we can have some assurance that maybe these projects will be finished, that we, you know, appropriated these funds to. And in regards to the assistant chief talking all ago, I figure showed we appropriated $5.9 million to water and sewer. If we had known that all of them need to be grouped into one form so that it could be presented to the U.S. Treasurer's Office, I think that would have been better educating the council on how things need to be approved from the floor on the funds that they want to do. Now, my other question now would be to the treasurer. In the December 1st report, you show $159,014.13. That seems to be an overspending at the parking and water head start. Now, was that paid?
Okay, those are, yeah, as far as the expenses and summary report, those are expenses that have been paid.
Okay, were they paid from that appropriated fund?
Yes, yeah, because when you made the appropriation, an account was set up for each appropriation. They weren't just lumped together, so they can be accounted for.
Okay, so we appropriated $989,000, and it shows that the expenditures were $1,148,014.13. You know, if I get a notice from the bank that I've overdrawn my account, that's essentially what's happened here. Why was the council notified that? And this, once again, just comes back down to transparency. All these situations here that we were looking at that went over budget or needed additional funds to be just come back to the council and tell us, this is what it's come to. We just, you know, we appropriated X amount of dollars. In the course of trying to get this project completed, we found out it's going to cost more because it was just spoken earlier today that all of this construction costs, everything that's going to go up. Unfortunately, what you're pointing out, we can't appropriate, reappropriate money. That's what we wanted to do, is look back at these, all these resolutions that add that and say, okay, well, we're going to be another 500,000. Take for instance, OAP. We spoke about that earlier. Okay, that ran on the budget. All you have to do is come back to the council and show us, the people, okay, we start on this project, this is what it needs to do this, and this is what, you know, we're gonna need so we can complete this project. And I don't think anybody would have a problem here going back to the mayor and saying, hey, you know, and that's why they're called estimates.
First of all, I'm not in the construction business as far as that goes. I think, I can say, well, looking at this program, I can say, well, this needs to be done. See, there's other people involved in this, so, they have to step forward and tell us what it's gonna take to complete these projects. Because, I can't just say, okay, we're gonna pull, say, 100,000 here, and complete this, because I don't even know where right now, as far, I'm just looking at after the money, as far as the construction is concerned, there should be construction. First, that would be able to answer your question on.
Okay, now, in regards to that, whoever this council had directed to complete that project, once they became aware that that was gonna be the situation, that it was gonna come to an end or something, or we needed to pay the bill, they needed to come to the council, then whoever was directed to do that project should have come back to the council and said, hey, we ran into a wall, we need this to do this. And I think that's the whole deal, is communication with this council. By those that were directed to do these things. And that's been my concern from the beginning of this, is we don't know anything. And when our band members ask us what's going on with so-and-so, we don't have any answers for them. And that's what we're asked to do, is to bring information back to them so they can make some educated decisions. And unfortunately, that's just not something we've been able to do. And it's been going on for 4 years now, because these all started mostly, first appropriation, or I guess it didn't have the word appropriation. The first payment out of this ARPA money came at our very first meeting when most of us were inaugurated. And like I said, we just don't know things, and we should have had a budget. And it didn't come out until this past audit report that there was no budget for the ARPA funds. This council should have established a budget for this earlier on, so that we could have kept track of that through that process. And like I said, that's been my deal. That's why we had questions today. We've been asking, and we've just not gotten answers. But now, as far as other questions I made January 24th and February 4th, I think you owe this council a report on where those funds were obligated and to who they were obligated and when the date of obligation was made, because we were told December 7th, 24, that they'd already been obligated. And at that time, we potentially could have came back and saw that these funds had sat in those, basically dormant for years. We could have reappropriated those funds into something to benefit our people. And that's what the Sunchies wanted to do, was to look at it and potentially just go back, just like you did with your own checking account. Go back to it and say, well, hey, I didn't spend this, I budgeted here, or I did this. And help our people. We're beyond that point now, but we still need to know if these projects are going to be finished.
Now, as far as when they're going to be completed, I have no control of that as far as dollar amounts. I just keep track of the dollar amounts as it's extended.
Now, back to that. Okay. You've been good to give us these reports. And now, have they been as far as TO 2404 is dictated? Did we get monthly? No, we've been a little bit lax in doing that. But for the biggest part of it, you gave it to us before we ever asked that. And I appreciate that. I thought that was great. We could see that, but we had never budgeted those numbers. And that's
When
what I
you
was
say never
saying.
budgeted, you're talking about the whole ARPA funding?
Yeah, we never had an ARPA budget. This council never established an ARPA budget.
Okay.
Of those funds, like $95,573,000 or whatever it was changed.
That money was received in April, and that money was sitting in a bank, but drawing no interest at all. And so, when we went in and realized this, then we started addressing banks where we can benefit from this.
Secure.
We lost a lot of money from that time from April to, I guess, about September. So.
And that's something I addressed the very first meeting when we were inaugurated, that September day. I asked that we make sure those funds are fully collateralized and secured, and give us some assurance that money, if they were over here, First United or Spirit or some of those, that bank would under it, wherever those costs were, we could have potentially lost all that.
Well,
That's why I asked that on the floor that very first day. I wanted to make sure.
That's why we moved as quickly as we could to secure and protect that funds.
It's all insured. Apparently, let's say when that took place, got with the banks and make sure that this was all covered, because right now, current, I guess, insurance coverage is like $250,000 per account. But with the banks, and then they send me pledges saying, assuring us that all that money will be, obviously, covered. So prior to that, there was nothing. Because if the banks had folded, the tribe would have lost all that money.
Well, I think that's why the federal government on their grants and stuff, they provide the nations, they require those to be insured or collateralized.
Right.
And so that was why this money was the people's money. That's why I asked back then that be protected there. It took some time before we ever got a report that it had taken place, but it finally got taken place. Now, we discussed previously about interest rates on these investments, and it's understandable. Years ago, you might have got 1% or 8% or whatever, or less than 8%. But then times have changed, and that's what I was wondering. Once again, I could ask that question. Or you monitor these on certain times, like money markets or certificates of deposits, and how that is being done, so it's done with investment advantage to the nation to recover the best interest rate on those things? Is that a monthly project you do, or weekly, or how do you do that?
So, okay, as far as I know, when we, I'm going to use the word reinvest, when we get to the banks, what they do is send the money out to other, there's a group, it's an investment group, what it is, and they contribute at least, certain amounts to each one of these banks, which will cover all this, because one bank will not cover the 250,000. I mean, if we have it in one account, and one bank, we're only covered up to 250,000. So therefore, what they do is send this money out to these other banks, which would cover the balance, I say the difference between 250,000 and whatever you have deposited in that account. So we're all covered, and we get pledges saying, okay, this is what we have back up. The bank's portion guarantee that that money is covered.
Which is federal insured,
Yes.
Anything in excess of that, they pledge their securities for it.
Yes.
We're protecting that great. Okay. So, like I said, that's just something that I've always had a concern with. And like I said, just the fact that we did not have a budget for the auditors, because they listed that in the.
When you say budget, you know, we're talking about the ARPA.
Talking about set aside budget for the ARPA fund specifically. Because we get budgets that are audited for different departments and everything in those reports from the auditor. And then they commented on it, because they commented on that previously in some of those audits. I think the first one was like $5 million that wasn't secured, and then the second one that was like $100 million was unsecured.
Yeah, this was all prior.
And this last one, they just made a comment about that. It was getting better, but like I said, I think that's something the treasurer or whoever should always be cognizant of. This is what we need to do. So it's deep art.
Well, that's what the Treasury Department does. We consult the banks. They'll call us and say, okay, you know, this is going to come down. How would you like to invest this? We try to maximize our investment. I used to call it investment. So they do work hand in hand with us.
Yeah, let's just look at maturity dates and plan ahead. And like I said, if anything go out on the market, look around and see if it's something we could invest in so we can make money, not be risky. You got to establish the risk factor there, don't mess up too. So, anyway. Okay, I'll you on that.
I believe on that, as soon as we realized that, then we started the process of making sure all the funds were secure, because they were in one account at one bank. And then that was remedied in a short period of time. Representative Dethridge?
Mr. Lyon,
Yes.
all of that ARPA fund money that we're drawing interest off of, where does that interest money go to? I forgot. Tell me how that works.
You said the interest?
Yeah.
Okay, we have set aside. I mean, there's an account for that as far as that goes. So.
Excuse me, let me ask you this question this way. I've got $10 and you've got $90. We're going to put it in the bank and we're going to draw interest off of that money, okay?
Right.
Okay. And are we going to split that 50-50? I wouldn't think so. I'm thinking I'm gonna get 10% of that money, you're gonna get 90% of that money. So if we put this ARPA fund money in an account, and this account has this lady's name, this lady's name, this lady's name, and they all put in $20,000, and I put in 60, I'm gonna get the largest share. That's how I would like it to be. Is that how it is?
No.
And who said we can spend that money, and who said where we can spend that money? The council? I would think so, but I don't know, because again, my brain's gone. I wake up every morning, my wife has to tell me, your name is Willis.
All that money is ARPA. Yeah.
What'd you say?
It's all ARPA interest. You know, it was all in one pool, and then we just separated out, so there's no clarification as far as, this money, I mean, let's say, for example, they have one program had 100,000, then had 200,000. We don't break that down as far as that, but it can be done. That's what the bank had told us on that. But it's all ARPA.
What we do with that money, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's all right.
Representative Shaw. Oh, Representative Cootie, you were before Representative Cootie, weren't you, Representative Shaw? Okay, Representative Shaw, then Representative Cootie.
Okay, now, prior to, you said we put it in money, and we put it in, I beg your pardon. This council right here ordered y'all to put it where it's interest bearing.
Yes, and it is.
Yeah. Good. Not being smart or anything, but I was the one that brought that forward. But one of the things that we've been skirting around, that more reports on, is SSBCI money.
Yes.
That's ARPA money itself, that we gave permission to execute to get the funding to help our member with business loans.
What's your question?
It looks like we had 4.5 million and got 4.139. At least we budgeted 1.221,733 of that account. If I remember, this fell in the first time, and then it had to come back the second time because they moved it from $10 and over to the administration. Since that day, I've asked numerous times for explanation as to where that money is at. Is it being utilized, and is it being utilized by our people, or are you putting it out here to somebody else that's going to make a little more money than a Native American or a similar? So I've asked this question. Where is that money at? When are we going to get a report on it? Or if our money is sitting there, then how much are we paying those people to monitor our money and spend our money without retribution whatsoever? Aren't we paying them like $15,000 a month or 6 months or something like that? Am I right? Are we paying them people?
Well, from what I understand, okay, on that account, we have a management company that is operating that. So, but I can tell you that the money is in sovereign bank, and there's drawing interest on it. And so that's what, and as far as they send a report to us, because we have to submit a report to the Treasury on that. So.
And Treasurer, it's not the whole amount of the original, what was allowed. They call them tranches. They only come down in tranches, and that's, a certain amount of that original amount that was going to be granted. And we only have received the first tranche of those funds. Those are the monies that he's reflected that are in sovereign bank.
Now, is it not this administration and treasurer's job to say, hey, we're not taking and gaining any money on this. Nobody's utilizing it. So can we take it back and utilize it somewhere else instead of letting it sit there and let that non-Native American up there in Oklahoma City with a little suit on use our money without, it's astounding to me that we would pay somebody to do nothing. But I see too, we got some people like that working for us. So we do need to do something about that money. Instead of letting it sit there, whatever you call it, tranches. I speak some of them. I don't know what tranches are. But they should not be allowed, if they're not producing, they shouldn't get paid for it.
There's a whole process in it. A lot of it had to be corrected before that it could even get started, at the federal level. What you see, at the feds, just like when we was meeting the pandemic with COVID funds, a lot of those available fundings that came through that period of time, they weren't ironed out at the federal level. So there was a lot that had to be done after we got the word we're getting it, and to be able to settle it and make it fair to all tribal members. Could we be given loans right now at this moment? The answer is probably yes, we could be. But the thing of it is we've got training money, which a training system is being put up so that all members have the same opportunity.
That came on number TR 2022-96, 9 years ago.
What?
2022-96.
9 years ago.
Huh? 3 years ago. Anyway.
And that's exactly what I'm explaining, is that when the government, had these different funding sources, a lot of times they didn't, even in broadband, sometimes they didn't have it worked out explicitly of how this was going to happen. A lot of tribes are going through this with broadband, and we're getting very close to ours as well for it to be also played out. I will say this, regardless of what happens, this year, whatever happens, the next administration is going to have a whole lot more funds than the nation's ever had in the history to be able to manage, to be able to deal with, to be able to administer.
Another question I have is on the mine, that 98 acres up there, I don't know if that's ARPA money. I don't know whose money it is. We have not received a report on who he dealt with, what the percentages are, who's going to pay for it. Is the administration going to pay for it? Is SNGE going to pay for it? We don't know none of that. Those are the questions that have been asked time and time again right here on this floor. And we've not received any answers that, other than maybe you might have said, oh, it's paid for. I heard you say that. If it's paid for, who paid for it?
We're not, no, I don't know that you heard me say it's paid for. The land's acquired. The land is acquired, and the resolution states how that's going to work. I mean, if you voted for that, read that resolution, and you'll see that it says SNGE and the Seminole Nation. So obviously, whenever you've got a resolution that states that, we have to execute what the resolution says, the intent of the resolution.
We've asked on this floor, our gaming board chair, he's not been here the last 3 meetings. And we'd like to ask him these questions too, because you want to share the spotlight? Put him on there with you.
We're taking care of the arrangements to be able to secure that land as the council had directed. us to do so. So it is being paid back, through the auspicities of gaming, which is indicated in the original resolution passed, and also on our tribal side. So we had to be able to do it with what funds are available there within past legislation. And that's how we look at it. Past legislation, the intent of the council, what was their intent, and I have a running record of trying to do that when it comes to.
What's the payment per month gonna be?
Bill, he handles. He's the treasurer, so he handles.
Let's see, we split the interest payment, it's like, I'm gonna say top of my head, like 20,000. And what, in the tribe, I would say tribe, I mean.
And the question is now, where is that money gonna come from?
Well, we purchased a CD, and that's, what we do is we paid from this interest earned that is from the CD back onto the, applied to the loan, so.
It's split between S&G and the Seminole Nation, the total amount of the payment.
Okay, now, I know there's another deal that's been talked about, and that's that, I can't even think of it right now. I'm frustrated. Because I'm not getting the rent still in. Go ahead, Leon, I'll give you the floor.
Representative Petit.
Okay, Reverend Shaw, back to your question on that SSBCI money. Representative, that's been a big concern of ours. We've discussed this several times. In December of 23, I guess whoever it was, because fortunately, Lieutenant Governor Antoby was on the committee that awarded us $4.1 million. We asked for 4.5. We got 4.1. Then we came back and passed a resolution to go, I think it's called DCM. Is that DCM? Yeah. And I'm not sure really how much the money was. I want to say $13,000 to $15,000 a month for them to set it all up. If you remember, the first time this came to the council, it failed. Then because you mentioned $7, they were today the final say and who was approved for the whatever. Then it came back, and I don't know if it's voted on it. We voted on it, didn't get to see the resolution where the executive is going to have the final say. Now, we have some substances that are needed to give us loans for their businesses. That's what I mean. Like I said, it's been over a year and a half now, right at it. I'd like to know myself, when is this going to get put together so that our people, we can broadcast it to the people and members of our bands that, hey, this is available. And it ought to be put on the nation's website or wherever we got the text line.
And it's very close, as I said. There was a lot of things that had to take place within the structure of, getting the brochures ready, getting what they call the elements for the design for the website. Personally, I would like for the training funds to be implemented so that everybody has a fair chance for those that's not quite yet prepared for business loans. And the thing of it is a loan. Yeah. So we don't need anyone from this council, proponing that it's something that's sort of like a PPP, because it's not that. It is a loan, and it's good to have a business plan together when you're going to be submitting for these loans, because you're going to have a way to repay that, even though it's a wonderful opportunity, and I think low interest at that. But I don't recall we ever decided that CINDOC was going to oversee that. It might have came up in conversation, but we never, that I remember, approved anything on this floor in that manner.
Well, Chair, whenever it was first voted on, that was when it was in the resolution, the CINDOC would be the final say and approve who that would be. I'm not sure that's why it was totally down. I can look it up. I've got the resolution in there. But like I said, it came back several months later. In fact, the question was made, why was it even brought back? But it was brought back with the intention of the executive to make that final say. Like I said, it's a loan. These people were basically somewhat co-signing, guaranteeing this loan for these people. That's the way I understood that this project's going to work.
I want it to be very clear that
we just need some reports so we can tell.
Right. I want to be very clear, executive will not have the decision who gets loans. That's not how it will work.
Well, no, that would make
no,
no sense.
absolutely not.
But when I understood read it, you will make the final say on how much of the percentages that we contribute to the system, person making the loan. And see, I don't know if that's ever been fully displayed to the council, so we tell our fans, this is how this process works. I just know some of it because I've done some research on it. Anyway, now, back to the other deal, y'all talk about this land up north up here, not 40. Okay, Suchies unfortunately weren't at that meeting because I went back and printed that resolution off just to kind of look at it, and there's nothing in there that says who does what. I mean, is SNGE going to pay half of it, or is the nation going to pay the other half of the loan? And Bill, I ran an amortization schedule on $5 million. Well, 6%, it's going to be about $55,000 a month, it's going to be payment. If it's 7%, it's going to be about $58,000. And what I was trying to figure was, if we split that 50-50, now I'm back to the math again. Gaming's currently, out of their, I guess, net profits, they're giving $240,000 a year for the Griswold. That's under 2019 03, if I remember.
Who is?
With Maple Leaf, if they were taking them on, that was what, $50,000 a month? That's going to be $600,000. And then if they say they have to make half this loan payment, you're talking about almost $1.2 million that's going to come out of their net profits. And that's our primary revenue stream right now that we have.
He just stated, Representative Petit, that the total amount of the payment is around $20,000 and it's split, so that's $10,000. You know, to S&GE paying on that nearly 100 acres on exit 200, and then $10,000 by the nation.
Well, Chairman, I won't disagree with you, other than the fact that I ran an amortization scale at 6 and 7%.
That's fine. I'm going by what the treasurer just reported.
And that's understandable, but we don't want to be awakened someday and find out that that's what it is. I can give you a copy of that amortization scale.
I understand amortization skills, sir. Thank you.
But that's what I was just trying to say. I don't want us to get gaming so overwhelmed that being they're our primary revenue stream right now, that they can't make all these payments. And like I said, now once again, part of another subject. This Maple Leaf deal. We heard those gentlemen up there the other day throwing each other under the bus on there. And that was a year and a half ago that we passed that resolution. It's still stalled. I mean, something needs to take place. We finally got a board on there, and Mr. Shaw said it. We've tried to have, Mr. Shepherd up here in chair to explain this thing, or we could question about some of this. And he's not been here in 2 or 3 years.
I think I made it very clear in that meeting when the representative of Maple Leaf was here that their attorneys, S&GE has attorneys, and also Maple Leaf brought in a very stout Indian law firm, Hopp, Strauss, Dean, and Walker. And between those two firms, the firm that works for our gaming enterprise and the firm that works at Maple Leaf, they are the ones who hash out what the actually consultant agreement says. And I made it very clear to Maple Leaf during that meeting, if you will remember, is that if there's some things that you're not willing to concede on, that S&GE's attorneys are concerned about, that could get red flags up at NIGC for a declination for that consultation, then you need to take those things in consideration. And I mean that. So it's between, I think it's really within the attorneys, you know, making sure that it's that. There was one submitted, I can't give you the exact date, and that's when NIGC came back and said, we have some questions and that kind of thing on it. I probably could look it up on my email and tell you when that was exactly was, but it was, I think they have been meeting to try to see if they can come to an agreement of a clean consultant agreement that won't be questioned by the National Indian Gaming Commission. And to me, and I'm not in gaming, I'm not the ones doing it, but what I would say, there's a template on the website. Take that template and make sure that you go by that. That's why it's there. But anyway, both of them's got to work together to be able to come to fruition of something that can pass at NIGC.
Well, like I said, my concern, I'm sure members of my band feel the same way, is we just need to get the same roll in some direction, because like I said, either they're gonna be compliant and get the authorization for you in NIGC, so that they can work with our tribe, or they're not, and if not, we'll start someone else and try to get the same one, because like I said, that's our primary revenue stream right now. Because, like I said, we've already established that CENDOC's not contributing, which is an effect essentially to VCR, and we've got so many things that our overhead is fixing to get so much higher, that we're gonna have to have some money streams so we can pay our bills. That's just my concern. Anyway, thank you.
Oh, Representative Cootie?
Okay. I'm sitting here listening to all the monies that we spend or appropriate and all that, and I understand where everybody's coming from. No reports, we don't know what's happening and all that. But you know, the concern here is that some of the monies that were appropriated, to me, some of it was wasted, because for me, when I see where that pool was passed, I think as an elder, it's important that we have to think about the elders, and you're going to get there sooner or later. You may have time to enjoy what you're enjoying now, but, you know, I've been back from Florida since 2004 and now. It has been spoken on the council floor about having a nursing home or funeral home. Where is it? It's not going to benefit our tribal members. We have to put monies out to non-natives to have burial. I think that those are the kind of things we should have thought about on this floor as a representative for our people. You have to think about what's best for our people, what serves them. This administration has been lucky to have that ARPA money to operate on. It has not been brought in by the tribe itself. We don't have no enterprises out there. We have CENDOC, but CENDOC's not doing any good. We don't have anything else. So all this money offered that we're talking about, it's going to be gone sooner or later. Then thereafter, what are we going to do? Where are we going to get the money to operate the tribe? Have anybody thought about that? If we didn't have to offer money this time around, where would we be? We'd still be talking about having things that we need. But we don't talk about that. We get monies, and like I said again, that pool system is a heartache on me, because I think it's a foolish thing that we did. I didn't vote for it, because I'm not coming out here and go swimming every day. Our elders don't have transportation to get out here every day. The young people have places that they've approved here. That's a good thing. But how many of our young people have transportation to get to and from? You know, we don't think about things like that. We talk about elders, we talk about youth. We don't take the youth under our wings and say, hey, you know, you need to know about your tribe, you need to know how it's operating and everything. When I came back from Florida, I knew nothing about this tribe. I mean, and I'm a member. I didn't know how the council operated. My band put me on the council. There was elders. I had to go to them. They would explain to me this is what it was and this is how it was done and all that. You know, and you have to learn from the beginning. And those are the things that we have to think about when you look at our young people. Training. Have sessions where they can go learn about our Constitution, learn about the way the council operates, administration. We have a system in place. Band chiefs, they have a meeting, they go over the resolutions and everything. We as band members, we call a meeting, we go over the resolutions and everything, approve what we want to approve, how and when, Well, and then we go back to the administration and tell them to go through with these plans that we put out as the members. We work for the people. We tend to forget that. We work for the people. They are the one that put the chief in position, put the council people on the floor. Sometimes we just take personal issues with everything and say, hey, you know, he wants this, we're going to support it, whether it's a benefit for our problem or not. So within this 4 years, whoever gets in their office, if this money goes and is all used up, I hope that there's something out there that can help them operate this tribe. And I still say we still need nursing home, funeral home. That benefits the tribal members. I'd rather go to a nursing home that's on our land. People would come, or whoever, you know, I would know the people, I can visit with them, talk to them. And there's places in tribes that don't have place to go, they go to non-Indian nursing home. And when they get visits from tribal members or whatever, they cry, they want to go home. I mean, that's sad. But when we're talking about our tribal members, we have people out here we can't help because of jurisdiction. But when it comes to election, beating the bush, getting elders, oh, I'll take care of you, I'll do this for you and all that. They tend to forget after they get in the office. So people think about the next 4 years or so. Like I said again, this ARPA money was given to us by government, whoever gave it to us, you better account for it the way it's supposed to, every dime. And so I sit here and listen to everything that's going on, and I sit and think, I have nothing to look forward to. I'm 90 years old next year, but what do I have? Nothing. And I know I talked to some of the elders, they feel the same way. But that's how it is. And like I said, people, you're going to get to my age. When you do think about it, you may still be talking about nursing home. You still may be talking about funeral home. It should have been done a long time ago. So I hope that people will understand and think about those things. Think about your problem. See what's more beneficial to them. So, but after saying that, I hope some of you will listen, some of you will talk to your young people, and a lot of times we do not always have quorum for our band. A lot of times I have to band members come to me and say, our band members never tell us when they're going to have a meeting. They make their decision on their own anyway. Why should I go? And that's one of the things that we need to work on. We're working for them. We need to have them at our band meetings so they can voice their opinion, whether we like it or not. There's part of that band. So there are so many things we have to do at home place, home ground or whatever. And so think about those things for what is needed for elders, what we can do for the young people so they can take over. We keep saying they're the future of our economy. But what do we do actually? So my recommendation would be to start talking to young people, start having some kind of classes or something that would help them to become better representatives for us, go after things that's needed here. So again, from the time I've been here, I hear other tribes, they got stores, they upgrade, there's a lot of things that is out there that we can go after, and we haven't done it. We've been living off government money. It's going to run out, it did run out, and we appropriated it, but didn't appropriate those things wisely. So, but I think that is the reason why we're wanting to know where those monies are, where it's going, how it was appropriated. We haven't had no budget, and I think somewhere in the policy it says that every penny that comes into the tribe has to be accounted for. It has to be put in the budget form. You tell me $10 will go to the contractor, okay, $10 should go to the contractor. You tell me water bill is this much. That money should be there for that water bill. And that's the reason why that budget is supposed to be so that it's free, it's clear to the council people. They can look at it and then know if you're over, under, whatever. But we don't do that. And that's what it tells us to do. We have things in policies that we don't even follow. So we're sitting here arguing or saying, oh, call to order, or whatever. You know, it's sad that some of the things that we do now. So I think that those people that stood up and say, hey, well, we want to know where these monies are going. And we have that right to say that as a council member, as a council representative. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you for letting me talk. Think about it. And give us nursing home. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, and the other thing, Chief, that I'd like to ask is that back on June 3rd, 2023, the council passed TR 2023-32, directing the chief to work with the state official to renew the tobacco compact using the same term as before. In the request, it was also asked that the compact shall be in effect until January 1st, 2028, or until a permanent solution is developed. I saw in the paper where the Choctaws, Chickasaws, and the Cherokees have reached compact agreement with the state. No mention was made about the Seminoles, so I asked you, what have you discussed or decided with Governor Stoops?
We have an extension right now till September 30th of this coming year. There's a lot of collaboration between the tribal nations of Oklahoma when it comes with compacting. You've seen it in gaming, when gaming was said whether it rolled over or whether it didn't, and the tribes came together and believed that it did stay the place that it was. And then you had 4 tribes that went out and did a different compact for potential casinos with the state of Oklahoma, with Governor Stitt basically, in the area of the metro. So you have tribes that join together. Definitely in gaming, we know there's a lot more money, there's a lot more funds, there's a lot more revenue at stake. So I think for the most part, the tribes stayed together on that. But when it came to tobacco and when it comes to tags, the same kind of thought was there in the beginning, but we also recognize that every tribe has their own sovereignty. They really do, and they can exercise that sovereignty. So if there's a tribe that goes outside of what was originally gathered of the nations to maybe stand and try to present to the governor of the state of Oklahoma, sometimes what takes place in those types of things, and it's their prerogative, some of those tribes that you mentioned and other tribes, it's their prerogative to do what they do for the wellness and the well-being of their people, and it's not top shelf. A lot of times tobacco or tags is not top shelf for some of the tribes that have a more diverse and more impactful economic development portfolio, so they can make different types of decisions that maybe we as Seminoles would not make. Basically because we don't have the type of revenue. And that's always been our Achilles heel, hadn't it? Not having the supplemental income coming from the business sector of the Seminole Nation. That's always been our Achilles heel. As I always say, like the good book says, man can't live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Tribes cannot live by federal funds alone. That's why we need that supplemental income. We have not been able, there's probably several reasons for that over the course of decades, but I think that's what we're going to find out when that investigation comes out. But on that, we do have an extension till September 30th.
30th?
September 30th, and then have to continue negotiations.
And then they'll be back for the negotiation?
Back to negotiations. And one of the big things, I think, what a lot of people, we would like, if we did go ahead and do an agreement, you know, to go for so many years. That's sometimes the danger of, like the state of Oklahoma, the governor, looking at Indian nations as we're all the same, as we just one size fits all, and that's not the case. When the federal government was dealing with Indian tribes, they did have templates. That's how those Reconstruction treaties was formed in the 1860s after the Civil War. But when they do consultation, they're supposed to do it with every tribe, specifically that tribe. But what they try to do now at the state level is throw everybody in. These big tribes, maybe what we call big tribes here, agreed this. That might not fit us. That shoe may not fit us as Seminoles or other tribes throughout Oklahoma. So those types of stiff negotiations got to be there. How you weigh that is, what was the intent of the council? Was the intent of the council, not this council only, but a council in the past, the council way back to many, many years. So in order to know what that intent was, you got to have knowledge of it. And fortunately, you know, I do have knowledge of that. So I try to bring forth your voice in any of those types of things. On the measure about, you know, the development here, it did my heart well yesterday. I was driving through on the transportation's newly developed roads, and I saw had to be a dozen to 15 youth, and they were practicing. It looked like long distance running. That's what they were doing. They were going all the way around this Miccosukee where those trails and those roadways was developed. You know, and then I saw kids out there playing basketball. And even coming over here with the rain like it is, there was people in that playground pushing their little children in their swings. So it's going to be a place of gathering again. Regardless who's in, it's going to be the place of gathering for our tribal members. They're looking for it. They're looking forward to these things. And yeah, they're looking forward to it, and it's going to be done. My whole idea was that this would be a place of gathering again. This is sentimental to you and me. The Miccosukee Mission is. This is sentimental to you and me and many generations that have come before us. So we're just trying to fulfill that. We're not capricious in any way. We're trying to fulfill that and fulfill what the council passes in resolution form. Representative Larney.
Yeah, before Bill, I know Bill's standing there. About the report for Monday for the opiate, I want the second year. I want the first and second year of distribution. And on what you just said, Chief, is this the solution to get this stuff done? I mean, because I don't want to sit here and talk about everything.
I'm sorry?
Is this a solution to get to address these problems today? Are we going to get them done?
Rephrase your question, please.
Everything we talked about that we had concerns of, do we have a solution for it today? Are we going to get it done?
Oh, yes. When my dialogue is going back to you, then those are things in the making, as the Attorney General stated, with the concern on Carnival child care, those things. All those things that we've addressed verbally here today, when questions were asked of us, and I can say probably with Assistant Chief as well, we feel good. We feel good about that. That we, even if there are problems, you know, that could be coming down the pipeline. That's kind of the vision you got to have too. Not only in development, but in what's happening at the
everything.
What's happening at the national level right now.
Yeah.
Right now. So it's not catching us by surprise. But some, you know, some construction things may catch us by
not
surprise.
Not just that too, but also too, when we come right when we say transparency, you know, communicating with the report of the people that we saw on social media, you know, reporting to people as this council, because we represent the people.
We as a plural.
So I'm just saying, you know, I'm just getting down to the bottom. I don't like to waste time or money. I definitely don't like to do that, but I just wanted to make sure that there was a solution today, because not a waste of money or anything. So if we wouldn't be here today, again, I stress that, saying that again, we wouldn't be here today if it was just communication. Communication, number one thing. Number one thing.
I will say this, that we've had to address several things over the course of what passed at the beginning, and then we had transitions and changes in the area of council representation. Maybe they weren't in the conversations in the past, maybe they didn't see the minutes of the past, things that's been discussed, things that were voted on by the council. So, so what happens in a situation like that, the band that those individuals represent that are new on this council, they should update them on what took place prior to them coming into office. It would be good if that happened, you know, because what you do is we have people asking questions on stuff that's already been voted on and explained. But anyway, Representative Yesler?
I know I have seen Wayne's hand.
Yes.
If we're done on this, and I don't know if we're not, but Jalen, I would like for Jalen to be able to come present. I know Assistant Chief brought it up, but he has his pathways grants that's due that we need to get on the floor. But if they have something else.
Representative Shaw, was that what it was pertaining to?
I want to turn to what Pacific wrote out earlier about this interest money. That interest money that's sitting there, it's not obligated or anything. So I'd like to follow in their footsteps and take that, I don't know if it's a resolution or an ordinance, but we need to take that money and put it in a fund where it's drawing interest, and our general counsel is the only one that can pull it off.
It's already that way, Wayne. It's drawn interest. It's as the treasurer said, it's in its own single account. And the scenario that Representative Dethridge gave, that was if there was several investors, you know, invest in X amount of dollars, and that they should be broken down through the percentage of the interest yield that comes from that. ARPA funds is one fund, so it's in, as the treasurer said, it's already in an account drawn interest.
But you got $5 and $1 bills in your pocket, who's saying I can't take one out without you knowing?
Huh?
That's one of the things that.
I'm sorry.
I'm not saying you're a thief or anything, but what I'm saying is that we need to secure that money properly. Not because, oh, and the ARPA money, and I said it's over here in the ARPA fund. It needs to be secured properly. And that's one of our problems here, we're not securing things properly and going forward.
Well, I think the code's distinctively.
I'm not finished yet. The other thing is, we talked about earlier, maybe 2 weeks ago, that, about IHS money, window money. If it's putting $20,000 into the crystal and the gaming enterprise is also putting $20,000 in there.
No, that's incorrect. Your figuring is incorrect, Representative Shaw. He said $20,000 total, gaming pays 50% of that, Tribal Nation pays 50% of it. It's not 40.
I know what I'm saying, though, you've got a resolution on hand right now that says that gaming will pay X amount of dollars every quarter, every 3 months, or whatever. Am I right? You got that?
Well, what you have is the directive of the council to pursue that property and all. Get that property, and Billy, the chairman of the S&GE was here during that time. The resolution was formatted.
I'm talking about right now, you got 2 and 2, you got 20,000 over here coming from the.
It's not 20,000 from each.
Wait a minute, $20,000 coming from IHS.
I don't even know where IHS is even in this thing. Are you talking about the land on I-40?
Who's paying for it?
Are you talking about the land on I-40?
No, I'm talking about right now, your budget on your Grissom. It's got $20,000 that's being paid by IHS. And we also have another $20,000 from my understanding from SNGE.
I ain't got to spend $20,000 for the grid though. Let's keep that.
With all due respect, Representative Shaw. Okay, are we finished with speaking about the ARPA project right now? And then I see Representative Petit's hand. We had a suggestion by Representative from the Miccosukee Band, and I don't, is Jalen still here? Because he had sent me.
He stepped out.
Okay.
He stepped out.
Okay. Representative Petit.
Chair, I know a lot of this is getting kind of confusing in regards to your first statement about what, setting that interest money aside and stuff like that. That's what I had, if such a band had asked me to get a resolution, first off, they asked me to send me an email and see if we needed support. Once we got some people start responding that good, I've asked the AG to prepare a resolution. And on my way down there, I was kind of like you, I thought, well, we had to do the TO last time we asked for it. And let me ask the AG, this TR 2025, it just got access back, you just sent it to the band, and I think I corresponded back to you to ask you, because you thought it might be on the June agenda deal there. Would that suffice as a resolution if we were to vote to approve this resolution, or does it need to be a TO?
I think it needs to be a resolution.
Okay.
I mean, it's appropriating funds.
Okay.
Why would it need to be a TO? I'm confused.
I don't know, that's why I asked you the first time, whenever you did the one on the getting the monthly reports on all the funds. That's why I asked at that time, which did we need? Because this is my first time on the council.
That's because of Title 14. I think that's because of Title 14, because that is an ordinance.
Right.
You think this would hang on the resolution?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, this is the one he has. And I sent it.
This has already been done. There are certain what we would call codes that determine what the treasurer's responsibility is, and one of those responsibilities is this very thing that you have here. So there is an account that's established with interest only. It's there. It's already there. It's under tribal law that is done, and he's done it. And thank you, Bill, for doing it.
I can understand what you're saying, but as we've got further back on the auditor's report, there was never a budget established for any of that ARPA funds. So we don't have a way to actually monitor what it is.
I asked
all we were asking, Chair, let me finish. All that such a man was asking is that we set this interest-bearing account aside, and we've talked about this on the floor because we've talked about the food insecurity, the members of our nation. And we set this money aside in the event that we could, if perhaps the food area, because you talked about Trump, what he's cut back, if we were to lose funds that way, we could supplement it through this interest money. Similar to kind of what he had about when we paid off the Phillips problem. Set that money into a special account for defense funds and stuff like that. And all I ask, and our band is just asking that we set this money aside in an interest-bearing account with our accounts. It's listed in line with the auditor. I wish I had power, but I put it up there so everybody can see what it says and everything. But it's basically, I can read it. It's going to be lengthy, basically reading it, because it's got nothing. But it's just a tribal resolution, general council seminar, Oklahoma, directing the treasurer to establish an interest-bearing account or accounts for American Rescue Plan ARPA interest funds. And down at the bottom, gives the reasons there are Article 5 and everything. And then and the middle whereas just talks about the report that you sent us back in January says that there was $1,165,765.55 in the ARPA interest funds, but you did not include December 24, and since time has passed that time, we don't know what that term amount would be. If you want to put two, you want to put three, don't know how you've got to invest it. So there's language down here that covers it even farther. But now therefore be it resolved that the General Council of Seminole Nation of Oklahoma hereby directs the Treasurer of Seminole Nation to establish the necessary bank account or accounts specifically for setting aside the ARPA interest funds, with the use of these funds and any proceeds thereof being authorized for appropriation by the General Council for future resolution. Further resolved that all ARPA interest funds earned today and any future ARPA interest funds earned shall be deposited and maintained in these established accounts, and all excess funds gained from the interest in those accounts not immediately appropriated under the sole authorization of the General Council will continue to remain within the established accounts to collect additional interest. I make a motion to adopt this resolution and ask for a second.
You know, that hasn't gone to the band, so I think everybody should consider that. And one thing about it is, he's established that. That's under existing laws. And then the council appropriates from that. That's already standard within with the general practice and the precedented practice of the Seminole Nation.
The resolution has been made, has been seconded. I'll call for a vote.
I could most likely go back to Title 14 and other titles and possibly call that resolution out of order, but I don't want to disrespect that resolution in that form. That tribal ordinance governs this provision already, and the treasurer has already stated that that's exactly how it is. So there's a motion and there's a second on the floor. We're in discussion. Who made that second on that? Representative Narcomi? Representative Chupko?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask for a table so I can bring it back to Urbana.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, and there's a motion to table. And there's no discussion on a table. So we're going to vote on the table at this time. And a second to table. So there's no discussion on the table. We've got a motion to table, second by Representative Chupko and Representative Harjo. Okay, this is a motion to table that off the floor, even though he may have it printed. It's a verbal resolution because that resolution hasn't come to your bands. All right, Secretary, this is a motion to table what was just stated.
Deanna Sampson.
Yes.
Anthony Conley.
Yes.
John Narcomi.
Yes, it is.
Rena Tiger.
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez.
Yes.
Nancy Fixico.
Yes.
Leon Petit.
No.
David Narcomi.
No.
Joseph Billy.
No.
Karen Fulbright.
Yes.
Ann Borba.
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert.
Yes.
Sina Yesley.
Yes.
Lottie Cootie.
No.
Marilyn Moore.
No.
Ensign Lena.
No.
Richmond Larney.
No.
Tiffany Thunder.
Yes.
Wayne Shaw.
No.
Charlie Hill.
No.
Tommy Chupko.
Yes.
Danita Harjo.
Yes.
Willis Dethridge.
Yes.
Desiree Emerton.
Yes.
I had 15 yeses, 9 noes, 0 abstained.
With a count of 15 yes, 9 noes, and 0 abstentions, the table prevails. He did read the resolution in full context, so that was what was tabled. I know you don't have this, so we'll get this out to you at the next council meeting, okay? Yeah, but he did read it in full context, and that's what was tabled. Let's see, got several hands here. I think I've seen Representative Shaw's hand and Representative Petit and then Representative Yesley.
What do you call it, executive session. What I'm gonna ask is, I'd like to have, for each and every one of us on this council, copies of the opioid letters and the warrant that comes over. Not just the letter, I want how much each one of those came in. And maybe some of y'all already have them, I don't know. But I'm gonna go ahead and ask for all of us to have those in hand, that way we don't have to be pointing and hollering at one another. That's all I've got to say.
Representative Petit.
Yes, Chair, I have a question, it's probably related to the AG on this one. I think they mentioned a while ago the swimming pool deal. I went back and looked at, when we voted on that back in September 23, TR 2361, and then, because I just pulled it out of my council file there. But, AG, did you look at that and see, I never showed where it ever been sealed or something, or the chief had signed a signature that sealed it. Did that take place with this?
You mean a certification?
Yeah.
Tribal Council Secretary would know the answer more so than the Attorney General, and she's pretty astute on making sure those resolutions get out.
What's the number?
What's the number again, sir?
TR 2023-61.
Okay, and we're gonna look that up because he has it on his digital file there.
The one I have is sealed.
Yes, it is sealed, it is certified.
Okay.
Okay,
You can have mine.
Representative Yetzler.
I just want somebody to say executive session, but before that, Jason's back.
Jalen text me. Jalen, you want to address that? Because what you text me this morning. Okay, now what can happen, I do have a solution if you're not quite ready for that. I do have a solution or recommendation to the council, but come on out. Wait, hold it. If there's going to be a vote on this, we got to, instead of just discussing it, if there's going to be a possible vote, is that what you see? Representative Yesleth, is that what you see, Jalen, a possible vote going to the floor on this? If there is, then it needs to be, and it's normal to put other business at the beginning of the meeting, but in the situation that this is, a grant that needs to be enacted, this is that Pathways grant. Is there any objections for this being placed on other business and will be in other business if this was to pass? Is there any objections for other business to be placed at this time by the council to hear about the Pathways grant for the Over American program? I see no objections. Therefore, it is placed under other business, and that's where we're at. We're in other business now. Jalen, you can come forward. Thank you. Yes, you can. Yeah, you okay? That's why I wanted you to have the chair.
They just come make a vote. Yeah. He said it's not sealed on the portal, but the way he said it, this is the way he said it. Oh, no.
I can bring that chair.
You want to just sit down right here for a minute? Recover?
Yeah, I guess it is.
I've seen people lock their knees at weddings and just totally go out, and that's what's happened to Bill. He's standing in one position too long. Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, good morning. We were granted the Pathways grant. It's a reimbursement grant for this in Oklahoma, and we were granted $98,000 for the first year. So I will tell you that it has to be spent by June, but the money will roll over to the second year grant. And so this grant was kind of just already in place, and we just kind of picked it up, added where it was left off. And I will let you know, this is the first time I've ever done a grant and a budget, so there might be a little mistakes. I've worked with Marcia, we kind of went over it together last night and this morning. But that's what it is. It's a reimbursement grant, and it would help our tribe to where we have some funding, but it's gonna come in place to where we're limited on our ACL funding. So, as you notice, I know you probably heard with our to-goes, we stopped doing carry-outs due to funding sources. We only get $2,000 for carry-outs. And so it kind of hurts us. We cannot pull from our food grant. And so this will help take place in that to pick up our carry-outs again for our elders that want to carry out. So in this grant, it's just going to have, it was in place for admin assistant, office supplies, and medical supplies. And so we stuck with year one, but year two, we changed it. And so we can go into elders' homes and give them a ramp, a handle in their shower, by their toilets, higher up toilets, and things like that. Pest control and like life alerts is what it's really for. It's to help them. And so it's kind of what we see in our grant. And I did ask elders, you know, what can you use in your house, homebound for sure. And that's what a lot of it was, you know, I could use pest control, I could use a ramp, I could use this. And so we're kind of working. We can't do everyone the first 2 years, but after we've been working to just add more funding into it for them.
So I've seen Representative Jetzlip and Representative Dethridge.
Jalen, I just wanted to add to it, this pathways grant is under the Oklahoma State Healthcare Authority Act, and it is for Medicaid, those who are approved and qualified for Medicaid. And it's for our aged, disabled, and blind, and like you said, it's a grant that is to maintain our elders in their home. It's to help assist keeping them out of living assistance and nursing homes and put these services into the home. And right now, like I said, year one is a reimbursement, so there's no allocation. He will spend that money, bill the state through CMS will get that money back and give it back into his program. And then the incentive, so the 2,000 on the meals, is that your incentive because your numbers are down? I remember Martha Wynn had talked about she receives a little incentive cycle, but it's by her numbers. Is that the reason why?
It's by your numbers, but also it's through like the budget we do with the budget officer. So the NSIP grant is almost 20,000, but it tells you in there it is strictly for food only. And so in the past they were purchasing supplies and the food, and so that's where it's at. It is by your numbers, yeah, the carry outs that you have.
Jalen, are your numbers down?
They're not down, and since we stopped carryouts, I will tell you our numbers have gone up. And one only complaint we've got from carryouts is help us find something to do to stay longer than eat lunch. And so that's what we're working on. But we really haven't got any bad complaints about the carryout. So we kind of figured, you know, maybe that's just something we should just stay with is, you know, come in and eat, you know, and we worry about our homebound.
Okay, Representative, someone had Representative Dethridge, and I see you also, Representative Hill.
So you applied for and received a grant of $98,000.
Yes, sir.
To be spent by June the 30th or June the 1st?
No, it's June the 30th, and then, but whatever is not spent by June 30th, it will roll over into year two.
And are you, being the OAP director, are you going to administer all this money? And the reason I asked that question is at the last council meeting, Nico was absent, and I pointed out the fact that you are working kind of solo. You do not have an OAP board. So I would like to find out if we are going to reestablish an OAP board to help you monitor the funding on this $98,000 grant.
We have some elders that want to sign up for the board, our committee board. So I'm going to get with, I don't even know who asked for those applications to be appointed to our committee.
OAP has historically been an advisory board. You know, advisory board activities, things that go on with OAP, maybe some things and ideas.
It's been an advisory board, but if we're established a board where they know that, you know, I don't want to, not that I do not trust Jason, but I would rather give him some protection and let that board say, yes, this is what we can use that money for. I mean, he's the director. He can tell them. I just want to make certain that nothing comes back on this man right here. So that's why I'm having a things. So if you want to reestablish it, you know, I can vote for it, but if you don't, we don't have money.
I'm just saying historically, it's been an advisory board and not a board that necessarily gets involved in the day-to-day accounting business of the nation. They might have great suggestions, great
Have
recommendations.
they ever had a $98,000 grant to try to administer?
Have we ever had anything? I mean, him and particularly, we
One more time. Has the OAP ever had a $98,000 grant?
well, you know, we have had grants in the past, and some of them's been 60, 70,000, that kind of thing. But if we can bring it back at the June. It's not that I don't want to establish it. I'm just explaining because you're adding additional duties to an advisory board.
Change the duties of a board in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but we got to do that before they can be reestablished.
Thank you. And I'm just trying to get it.
You're welcome, thank you.
Representative Hill.
Good afternoon. Just for your information, they call it FYI. Something for you to think about as the director of the OAP. If you should happen to get the grant as quoted, okay, as we foresee it might happen. If in fact, if it does, we're talking about elders, what you're operating over here, okay? We have many, many elders in Seminole Nation. I just say tribe, I say Seminole Nation. There's a lot of them that you do take out for food and give it to them, okay? Country, etc. But as you can tell, elderly, as they grow older, they're into what you call fellowship. Fellowship means when they get together and they talk to one another, talk about the past or they're at today. If you could possibly could afford, which I'm sure you could, it's not going to cost a lot of money, okay? You got a place out there on the south side of the OAP where we talk about parking lots. You have very few of what you call handicap signs, okay? However, if you could also, in addition, have someone go out there and paint elders, that would really help a lot of our people because in the state of Oklahoma, elders, they say at the age of 55, okay? But in Seminole Nation, they talk about an elder being 60 years of age. Of course, that's when everyone that turns 60 gets $2,000. They usually don't know about now, but still. I'm just looking at it for the elders, okay? I'm 76 years old, and the young lady on my right, she's been very, what you call, very good with the nation by having them and all said, but in your case, you're very young, and you've got a lot of elders that you cope with 5 days a week, okay? And by them coming up and parking that elder, you can see maybe one, or have another passenger with them, like due to a vehicle, you can have more of elders coming in to eat, and talk, speak, have a good time, and that's what it should be all about. Okay? And go to the last days instead of you trying to find out where they live and take it because you know they're not there and you can't pass out the food. But when they ride together, they have what you call fellowship and they get together. I like to see some like sign elders. You know, put on this.
Okay, and it seems like we can use that in the grant, we can put it there to get paid.
Yeah, okay? You got maintenance, okay? I believe Chuck Johnson's in charge, but you know, he's got maintenance, and they get quite a bit of money, so they need to come out and work, okay?
Okay.
Put it to work, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Representative Cootie.
When you select the board, those board members should be from your participating elders. That's when I had the program in Florida, that's what we had to do. And that board will oversee everything, and if you have to hire, they take part in it. And I don't know what your rule says for Oklahoma, it may be different, I don't know. But that way, the people know people, so that the elders know who you're going to hire and whatever. And if that person is a good person to work with and everything, and they let you know that and everything. But they more or less kind of really oversee the site itself and the activities that's going on and what they want done and everything. So it's good to have a board, but it has to come from your participating elders and everything, so. And I do know that, you're upset with me, you don't talk to me anymore, but I hope you have respect for the elders that you're serving, because if they are your elders, you're young, maybe, you get upset with things that are said, but, I don't hold anything against you, so I hope you do the best. I told you I would help you with some of the activities if you need help and everything, but, that's up to you, so, but anyway, that's how it was, it's all the board should come and participate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have Representative Lambert, then I've seen Representative Chupko, then I've seen Representative Sampson in that order.
Hi, Jalen. You're very young, and you're doing a really good job, and I commend you for that. And I understand that you had to go back and do a lot of backpedaling to get everything in line with this grant and that type of stuff. And I thank you for following through with that and taking on taking on something that you've never done before. What are you looking for from us today? What kind of action are you looking for us to make?
So I'm really looking to get this passed today so we can spend it. The money's sitting there, the PO will be sent Monday to use the PO, so really I'm looking for us to see if we can get it passed today and get that money spent. And if it passes today, Monday, I'm gonna do POs with our procurement to get stuff that we need done to get as much spent down as we can. That way, if it's just a 2,000, then that would only roll over. Instead of trying to send over 50,000 to roll over. I want to send the lowest amount we can to roll over. So they know, okay, they're using it, we've done year 2, so year 3, maybe let's add a little bit more because they're showing they can use this money.
And that's the beautiful thing about Pathways, that it is very flexible and you can request more funds as needed. But are you, so you have a budget and it has not gone through finance, or can you tell us more about what you're wanting passed today?
So really it's, we want to get an admin assistant in there. We need office supplies, medical supplies, and we're doing outreach as well in there. And so that's going to kind of help us get our elders more involved in what we have here. Because some of them, they really just don't know when we don't do nothing. And a lot of them go to these health trainings and all these other things, and some of them are not they're in our jurisdiction, but we don't do anything for outreach yet. And so that's kind of what we put in our Pathways grant, was to do outreach, set up a table somewhere, have an outreach at our building with different elder groups from different tribes to come and stuff like that. So it's just kind of get them to come in and see what we do.
So you're wanting us to pass a budget, is that right?
Yes, pass the budget, yeah.
Okay, and so what is that, because we don't have the budget in front of us, what is that?
I have one, do you want it?
We probably need to see it in order to pass it.
You got several copies, Jalen? Okay, while they're passing those out, I'm going to go ahead and go to Representative Chupko and then Representative Sampson. I see Representative Gonzalez's hand too. Representative Chupko?
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out where we were. Was there a resolution, what was going on, but she took care of that for me, so.
Okay, Representative Sampson.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. I was down at the tribunal when we spoke. You did such an excellent job for our tribe. I appreciate you. I commend you for everything that you're doing. And you stay strong. You're going to be awesome.
Thank you.
That's all I want to say.
Representative Gonzalez.
I just wanted to remind everybody that this is a budget and it has not gone through the finance committee.
And I was informed that it didn't have to go through the finance committee because it's like an emergency.
The normal historic process is go to the finance committee and then they recommend to the council. But Representative Gonzalez, just for a note here, the general counsel is the authority of the Seminole Nation, and within the powers of the general counsel, they do have budget authority to pass this if they wanted to. Representative Cootie, then Representative Shaw.
I was just gonna say, it would have been good if we had more to go.
All right, it's difficult to hear. Can we let the person who has the floor speak? It's on now, Representative Cootie.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was just saying, it would have been good if you had a board in place for this, you know, they probably could have helped you and go over, because they know each other and what they live and what they need and all that. That might have been helpful with the suggestion and, you know, putting money where it's needed for the elders. So, but, anyway, whatever, that's why I said you need to have a board in place.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to return to Representative Lambert. She still had the floor while they was passing out the item, and then for the sake of time, we went on to other people. Representative Lambert, and then I see your hands out here as well.
And so you have an administrative assistant in here, has that been, job description or that has?
Yes, I turned into HR and they were gonna overlook the job description.
Okay, and so, I visit with you too, so I know a lot of these, but, I wanna make sure that everybody knows that you did try to go through finance committee and you did try to go through these steps, but the timing, and if you wanna explain that a little bit more.
Yes, so the timing is off, and our last controller that was here, when I asked about this, she told me that she was gonna handle it and then let me know when it was done. So that's kind of why I was just there, and I'll be honest, I didn't try, I mean, I thought it was gonna be, and then I found out, I got in contact with Johnny Johnson, and he said, Jenna, the money's sitting there, let's spend it, they have time to spend this money. And so, when I brought it up, and I spoke with Chief Palmer, and he talked to Val, and they told us that it could be brought up as an emergency, we didn't have to go to finance committee, so me and Marcia, we worked together on the budget, you know, she did most of it, and some of it I just finished this morning, was just placing the money where it needed to be put at, but Marcia did the budget, and gave it to me last night, and this morning we worked on it before, you know, council.
Sir, it's not because it's an emergency, it can go before the council, so when it comes back, you just kick it in quickly, you know, through procurement and everything else, okay? I understand if this table passes. All right, Secretary, this is to table the item. Is it no discussion on table?
Dolores, Leatta Sampson.
No.
Anthony Conley.
No.
John Narkemy.
Yes.
Rena Tiger.
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez.
No.
Nancy Pixico.
No.
Leon Petit.
Yes.
David Narkemy.
Yes.
Joseph Billy.
Yes.
Karen Fulbright.
Yes.
Ann Borba.
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert.
Yeah.
Sina Yeslith.
No.
Lottie Cootie.
No.
Marilyn Moore.
No.
Henson Lena.
Yes.
Richmond Larney.
Yes.
Tiffany Thunder.
No.
Wayne Shaw.
No.
Charlie Hill.
Yes.
Tommy Chupko.
Yes.
Danita Harjo.
Yes.
Willis Dethridge.
No.
Desiree Emerton.
No.
I have 11 yeses. Sorry. Correction, I have 12 yeses and 12 noes, 0 abstain.
Because of the authority of the council has on budgets and the authority of the council under the powers of the council of the Constitution of the Seminole Nation, I vote no to table. We're back to the original question. Secretary, this is the original resolution, okay? That was read, that was discussed for the last 10 minutes. So we're back to the original motion. Everybody understand? So this is so that they can start on it, their $98,000 grant, try to expend as much as they possibly can. Representative Chupko.
Can I still ask, can we still discuss this?
Yeah, we can extend discussion on it.
So Jalen, you said that what was paid employee was that amount?
That's the grade scale we started at, was the 901.
Okay, so is everybody, your employees making at least that?
My employees?
Yeah.
No.
Well, can we use some of that money to get them up to that?
We'd have to include them into the Pathways grant. We'd have to pull them out of our grant to move them over. So that would hurt us if we did, because that grant is only, I think it's a 3-year grant. So once it's gone, we'd have to try to put it back in ours. Now, We are working on our new yearly budgets for the next 4 years, and I can change it on that, but again, it has to be passed through finance committee. And I've tried, I'm not gonna lie, I tried when I first came in and it didn't pass, so all I can do is try again with these next ones from my original, grants that we did in Maysville.
I suggest you try to do that again,
Okay.
because that's something that needs to be done, especially people coming in or making that amount. You know, it's not right. But so much money.
Okay. Representative Borba, then Representative Hill. That's the hands I've seen. Representative Narcomi of the.
What they tell us, if they say they're married, we just put on their married non-native, and then our case they approve it.
Many years ago, it used to be where you could live with somebody with 600-year-old and met a marriage, and now you have that.
Okay, I think we spent a lot of time on this. I had some people at the background, and I believe it was Representative Narcomi, then Representative Billy had his hand up. Earlier? Yes, okay. Representative Narcomi, Representative Billy, and back to Representative Yesleth.
I have a couple of questions, simple questions. Ideally, you know, I was on the finance committee at one time. Now, if it's just a single budget, it can come before the council for approval. But ideally, you should have everything attached to it. Like she was saying, the job description. Also, the grant letter should also be attached to this as well, too, ideally. But we don't have that. And that's okay. So that's still, as long as you're transparent about everything, you don't have a problem with that. And on the fringe and wage for $36,546, then you have all the fringe benefits. That amount, the $36,000, does that include all those fringe benefits, or is it separate amount?
No, it's not enough.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. And I can, so even before I can bring you the job description, it has to go to the personnel board to be approved with what I was informed, and go through all those steps as well. So like I said, you know, it's an emergency, and if it gets tabled, but then next time I'll have it all for you, ready to go. So.
Oh, one more question, is this budget one that's required by federal law to have an approval by the council?
It is. That's why we haven't got our PO.
That's why it's here today.
Yes, yes, sir.
Representative Billy.
My thing is, like the other gentleman, is the pay. As far as that would be an administrative assistant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I mean, our secretary, is probably about that same thing, and she does a lot. And for business to start out like that, I think that's a bit much. You know, I mean, like I said, I don't think nobody was harder than our secretary. I believe hers is about the same range right there, if not maybe a dollar. I think that needs to be looked at too.
Okay, but I want to say most departments, some start out that or higher than what we put on ours. So they said their job description kind of went off of it, kind of just set them out and did not. So.
Representative Yesleth, and then we're going to get to the question.
I just want to make a statement that when I mentioned earlier about the previous director being up here in December of 2023, she actually mentioned that she was applying for this Pathways grant. So she did apply for this, and it was done in 2023 and started and carried over, like he said. It was sitting dormant since then. And as far as the amount on paying somebody on this, they're going to be, for the admin assistant, are you gonna add any kind of medical staff? Anybody else to be able to do any other things?
In year 2 we did. We put in there CNA and we probably got a case manager and stuff, but I know CNA will be in our year 2 in July.
Because the admin assistant is gonna be doing a lot on the end of the budgeting of this and everything else. It's gonna be a lot of work. Like I said, I'm currently doing it now in my duties, and it is gonna be a lot on this person.
Okay, we're back to the question. If this measure was to fail today because of the different thoughts of the council, Obviously, we would probably bring it back with some kind of revision to make it new business so that possibly all the answers to your questions could be gone through the process that many of you are very concerned with and should be. Okay, Secretary, call the roll, and this is for the question that's before you today, to approve this budget that was passed out.
Leanna Sampson.
Yes.
Anthony Conley.
Yes.
John Narkemy.
Abstain.
Rena Tiger. Ida Gonzalez.
Yes.
Nancy Fixico.
Yes.
Leon Petit.
No.
David Narkemy.
No.
Joseph Billy.
No.
Karen Fulbright.
No.
Ann Borba.
No.
Stephanie Lambert.
Yes.
Sina Yeslith.
Yes.
Lottie Cootie.
No.
Marilyn Moore.
No.
Henson Lena.
No.
Richmond Larney.
No.
Tiffany Thunder.
Yes.
Wayne Shaw.
Yes.
Charlie Hill.
Yes.
Tommy Chupko.
No.
Danita Harjo.
No.
Willis Dethridge.
Yes.
Desiree Emerton.
Yes.
I have 11 yeses, 11 noes,
Make sure that counts right.
and 2 abstentions.
When it was tabled, I voted to bring it, to let the council address it. I think we will still have time. We'll work with you to get everything in place, so when we come out, bring it back as new business, everything will be clear, and we'll be ready to kick that thing in if the council was to pass it at that time. So at this time, I vote because of those areas of concern, and then the finance committee can address that when you go before them, and then recommend any changes if there are to the general council. So I vote, the chair votes no. We'll bring it back though. I have to break the tie. Representative Dethridge. That should conclude today's business.
Chair, I received a letter this past week, and it's a serious concern to me, and so what I did with this letter is I sent a copy to the AG, and I would like to ask that we go into executive session to discuss this letter at this time.
Well, what I'm going to say to you right there, what we do know about that letter is that that's a federal offense. It has been set out to you as a council under Title 18 of the Federal Code of Regulations pertaining to postal services. So I don't think that the council should discuss that based on that it's a federal offense, that it even got to you. And that's not to avoid anything, that's just fact.
Chair?
Yes.
I don't know whether you're saying that because this letter pertains to you in it or not, but I'm gonna ask one more time. If we go into executive session as the general counsel of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma and ask some questions about this amongst ourselves, not even with you in the room or the assistant chief, but I would like to see the AGs and Jim Brown, because this is serious. If there's any truth to it at all, this is serious. There's where I stand. So I ask for a second on my motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All right, well, it is a federal offense, but the letter itself.
Where did you get your law degree?
Yeah.
That's my decision.
Well, we have the statute back there.
I got a motion in a second.
Okay. All right. To go into executive session. There's a motion and a second. Council Secretary, call the roll.
Leetta Sampson.
Yes.
Anthony Conley. John Narkemy.
Yes.
Rena Tiger.
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez.
Yes.
Nancy Fixico.
Yes.
Leon Petit.
Yes.
David Narkemy.
Yes.
Joseph Billy.
Yes.
Karen Fulbright.
Yes.
Ann Borba. Stephanie Lambert.
Yes.
Sina Yeslith.
Yes.
Lottie Cootie.
Yes.
Marilyn Moore.
Yes.
Henson Lena.
Yes.
Richmond Larney.
Yes.
Tiffany Thunder.
Yes.
Wayne Shaw.
Yes.
Charlie Hill.
Yes.
Tommy Chupko.
Yes.
Danita Harjo.
Yes.
Willis Dethridge.
Yes.
Desiree Emerton.
Yes.
I have 24 yeses, 0 nos, 0 abstain.
Okay, with a count of 24 yes, 0 no's, and 0 abstentions, I declare that that measure had passed. We're going into executive session. What we need to do, we do have a light horse here too. Can, answer some